Hey, what's going on, everyone? It's Louis B right here, ready to talk about Spider Man Homecoming. I want to talk specifically about four things. I want to talk about the story, the characters, the visuals, and then the music. Let me. There were. In the story, there were so many fun subversions, the way you think was going to happen. You know, I wouldn't say it really broke the mold in any way, but it took what you thought was going to happen. It took a lot of cues from those old Spider-Man movies, the Tobey Maguire movies, and the Andrew Garfield movies, and they took it and just ran with it. I mean, they knew it was props to the director, props to Marvel, props to Sony for knowing what everyone already knew. They skipped all the origin story. They skipped right into the good stuff, and that was great. It allowed. I mean, everyone knows the story of Spider-Man. So personally, I feel like this movie had more soul to it than the other Marvel movies, and that was fun. I think that a lot of these movies are just they're funny and they're fun movies, but when it comes to like a deeper context, usually it's kind of similar. This movie had a lot of character development. There was a lot of different things going on. You had characters that weren't afraid to show weakness. There was a lot of characters with a lot of story development, and like it was. It's going to be interesting to see where they build on from this point out because it is such a break from the mold. We're going to see a lot of characters. If you haven't seen the movie yet, if you have, the future relationships are going to be different, and it's going to be fun to see how these characters kind of evolve and take this as they go on through the different movies. I wanted to talk characters. Tom Holland was a great Spider-Man. I think that I mean we already saw him in Civil War, but you know what? I think that he did a freaking spectacular job as the Spider-Man and as Peter Parker. He was it was a I think a great callback to those more classics to the Tobey Maguire Spider-Mans. They made him more of a geek. They didn't feel like they had to make him cool, but they didn't make him like the social outcast. They made him kind of like this nerd that had his little group, and within this group he was still kind of out of it, but it was more. I just enjoyed the dynamic more because it's different from what we've seen already. Um, Ned, and I don't have the actor's name, but he was fun. He was a lot of fun to watch, and I appreciated his presence in the movie. He made me laugh quite a bit. Zendaya as Michelle was, I feel, a little underutilized, but within the context of the story, it made sense because you know this was a this was Peter's. A lot of it had to do with Peter's crush on Liz, and they can't really shoehorn in another girl in there. So whatever, it happens. Um, Robert Downey as Tony Stark was awesome as usual. He was specifically is one of the characters that I feel developed a lot in this movie in the short amount of screen time that he had, and that was great. And again, I'm really excited to see where that goes from here on out. Another, and obviously Michael Keaton as the Vulture was it was awesome. I was I felt fear, I guess you could say. When there's this one scene in this movie where I'm not gonna tell you what happens, but I actually gulped when he was delivering the lines because I was like, man, I would be terrified to be in this kind of situation. Um, you know, they really took his character and they I love and like I said, there are a lot of subversions in this movie that are great because instead of taking your average Marvel villain who is chop chop, cut dry, get him out of here. Who cares? Crossbones, for example. What? Who knows? You knew right from the get go his what he wanted and what affected him, and that was great because now that he totally breaks the mold, and hopefully Marvel takes this and makes it a thing, instead of continuing on with what they usually do of the cookie cutter villains. Um, the visuals in this movie were pretty fun. I think the biggest draw to this movie, obviously, other than being Spider-Man, is that it plays on a lot of people's expectations. It takes a lot of visual cues that people are expecting. They see the American flag behind Spider-Man. They see him. They took a lot of these visual cues from the old movies, and they subverted them, and they didn't. And it was just so much fun, and I definitely think this movie was built in a way that really complemented the what they were doing visually. And the last thing I wanted to talk about was the music. Um, Not great, honestly. There's some movie soundtracks that stick with you after you watch it. I honestly can't tell you what was. I don't remember, so it wasn't very catchy or anything. Um, it wasn't. You know, if it didn't stand out as bad, it couldn't have been bad, but it wasn't great. So, what are you gonna do? Can't win on everything. Um, Overall, I enjoyed the crap out of this movie. I think it was awesome. I definitely, I don't know why you would be on the fence about watching a Spider-Man movie, but if you are, I definitely put it ahead of the Amazing Spider-Man movies. I was not a huge fan of Andrew Garfield, but I grew up with Tobey Maguire, and I think that those first two movies were also pretty great. But, I definitely would have a debate with someone as to whether this was up there among the best Spider-Man movies, because it definitely deserves to have its hat thrown in that ring. Yeah, man, I Spider-Man: Homecoming. Watch it. I'd love to hear from you guys. If you want to comment, I'm down to have a conversation. Thanks, and have a wonderful rest of your week. Peace.